Hey, good morning, everybody. Sarasota Tim. Welcome back to Morning Chat and a forevermore video as much as possible. No more lag effect, no more staggering, make one, not make one. We're going to wear you out on the Sarasota Tim YouTube channel. Now, this morning, my brain is absolutely full of things I'd like to share, discuss, tell you what I'm going to be doing, and bragging, and that's regarding my weight. I did hit a new all-time low. It's kind of scary. Even though I think I need to be 180 or 185, I hit 192.4. That's literally, yesterday I was 193.6 in the evening last night before going to bed. After eating all day and everything else, you always weigh yourself in the morning. That's almost a full pound from last night. And that's a new number for me, 192. I think I shared on a video the other day that I had 192, but it turns out the batteries were low on the scale. And I guess it just didn't have enough juice to, tell me what the actual weight was. Come on in. Let's have some coffee before we begin the conversation this morning. I've got a rant, I've got inspiration, I got negativity, I got positivity, I got joy, I got sadness. This is an eclectic channel, I warned you. I don't even know where to begin. Let me pour a little cream in here. Let me show you what we got. I'm using the Walmart brand heavy whipping cream that I was turned on to. Never knew about it in my life. People told me about butter in my coffee. Never heard of that in my life. Most people I share that with never heard it in their life. But you don't know unless you try. And, we talk about that sometimes on the channel where I'm always boasting that I'm so glad I'm a critical thinker. Now, I am hard-headed. I won't deny that. But I am intrigued and interested in other people's opinions that are esteemed by others, or I esteem, to knowing more than I know. I am glad that I think that about myself, that I don't know it all, but I want to know all I can. I'm interested. Some people, they're just so weird. They don't, you can tell. I've tried to share videos or something with people or share with them, and they're just like, they either don't believe it, they don't want to hear it, they turn it off, they're not listening, they're texting while you're talking to them. They literally don't find anything interesting, and it's so frustrating to me because I'm like, look, I got some good stuff here for you to know. Take a look at this color. This is a really fresh pot, by the way. First, I made some coffee. Look at that color. That is gold, baby. And by putting my heavy whipping cream, I'll go ahead and turn the eye off. By putting my heavy whipping cream in first, here's the color. I don't have to even mix it. So listen, here's to the good old days. And I'm talking about, I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say and what the meaning is, but these are the good old days. Because the forecast, and while things have, let me just get some coffee in me here, folks. Did you hear that? That's slurpable. How many out there are slurping with me? I used to be reading the comments all the time about, I think it was Jesse or somebody, said he's slurping now. Folks, I read all the comments. I really do. I mean, I only got 6 people that comment over and over and over. So I actually know you now. No, I've got quite a few, and some that are new, and some I'm not familiar with, and some that use these numbers and letters and dashes that don't have a name, or a photo. But I read the comments, folks. Folks, that coffee, with that McDonald's coffee, baby, with that heavy whipping cream, that's the best cup of coffee I've ever drank in my life. God, that's good coffee. Got to be my 4th cup. Man, that's good. Creamy, delicious. So where do I begin? I've already begun and skipped around. Let me get you in here. I'm leaving, I don't know, not today. Today, I'm, I couldn't even, got one over here and over here, down my arms. I read all the comments about greasing up and getting out in the sun. I get it. I didn't want to go today because I couldn't really take a shower last night. This morning I washed my face. I got in the shower last night and I washed from here down because I couldn't, you're not supposed to for 24 hours uncover these, and splash water on them. Today, sometime later today, I'll be removing the bandages, putting some Vaseline on there, and caring for the two spots where they cut. The freezing thing doesn't matter. But I'm so glad that God said, don't go anywhere. We need to take care of that. And, the weather and whatever else I might have, ran into, probably weather, that I didn't need to run into until I got full clarity, until I'm actually beginning of September, knocking on the door of, the last bit of beautiful weather before in the north it gets really cold. And it's about 45 days away, 30 days away, if you go far enough north. I think that everything's coming together and it's going to be amazing. I do have a brand new enthusiasm this morning about going, where before I got into this complacent, sort of stagnant, I'll just sit here, too cheap to spend the money. We talked about it before, the aging process from 62 to 67, where you go, well, 3-4 years ago I'd have done that, but right now I just don't feel like towing a vehicle, hooking up a hitch. My back hurts, my hip hurts. I'm scared to tow it. I don't need that unknown stuff. Your mind just starts getting older and more feeble, and you just don't have the drive. Well, that played a little bit. I'm still the youthful guy that I think I am. And I've had a brand new, and I'm going to tell you why, a lift, a new shot in the arm about getting out there and traveling. One, God, I got so many things in my mind. I know I'm bouncing around. I did watch a YouTube channel last night that I've watched before, that I haven't watched in a long time. Regarding RVers. It's a couple, and they've had several Ford trucks, several different RV trailers, and they're more than successful. I'm talking about off the charts successful with YouTube with their travel. And there's quite a few out there that are. They have excellent editing. They have excellent, they don't use an iPhone. They've got actually a DLSR and good audio. They've got 2 people, one to hold the thing. They got editing, they got thumbnails, and they've got these bitchin' bigger, nicer trucks and cars. And apparently they got endless money because they've been everywhere. Their thumbnails, whether it's just talking about their new rig or their new truck, and they're Ford people, by the way, they have been everywhere. You remember traveling Robert? I guess he's still doing it too. He's a solo guy like me. He's really what inspired me, that he had this little Winnebago and he had a Colorado or something. He was doing the desert Southwest. He'd pull over somewhere and go make him some fajitas in the back. I said, I want to do that. And these people are all of that on steroids, and they have a dog, and they have all the things that make people want to watch. Plus, they're actually very interesting. They have good, they both are, he's handsome, she's pretty, they're enthusiastic. She's extremely involved and a very good talker on the videos. And I was just watching last night, taking all that in, not just as a viewer and a subscriber, but what can I do for my channel? But obviously, I don't have a wife. So I said, but man, these people, I can just, for nothing else, I can get ideas from them about just the places they've been. You should see. I think they got drones, they do everything. So they show this beautiful part of our country in the national parks. I think they hit all the national parks. They were on tour. And their first truck they sold had 175,000 miles on it. And then they got a new one, and they just got a 2025, ironically, Lariat diesel in this beautiful, that cement gray color, you know. And they put on those KO2s, man. He did a level package on it. And it's my truck with a higher trim package, a nicer interior, but it's my body style. And he put a level on it, which means lifting it slightly, because they come a little bit like this in the front end, kind of a rake. And he put those KO2s on it. You can tell the width of the tires are wider. Not big mud and snow. Badass highway KO2s, baby. This truck looks amazing. And those diesels they got over there at that dealer I videoed last night, if they were to just put KO2s on them all, plus this guy had some rims I'm sure weren't from Ford. Now, one thing I gleaned is these people have plenty of money. I'm talking, they spare no expense on what they put in the camper. They have an Airstream, and apparently they lift it too. There's some kind of a lifting you can do, because they said all Airstreams are actually way too low, and any campground you go in, they're not off-roaders. They go to RV resorts and campgrounds or beautiful places. They pay. But they bottom out. So with all the good you hear, there is that one negative. Apparently they do some kind of a mod to make the Airstream higher. Maybe you've heard of that. I never have. But anyway, I'm watching this channel last night. I'm getting all inspired about traveling. Just that alone. Forget about wanting that kind of a rig or that kind of a truck. I've got one. I've got a rig. So that got me inspired. And, you know, I'm ready to hit it. I'm ready to hit it at the very beginning of, even though it's not officially fall, it actually, Labor Day is the end of summer, right? And the beginning of introducing fall. So I'm catching this at the earliest time. I think the last time I traveled, I might have missed a month. I got out to Laughlin and it was, you know, nice. And I went home with the cramper and I brought this back with the Tundra. And then it got hot on me and I tried to find cool air. Went all the way to Cedar City, you know, about 6,000 mile foot altitude in Utah. It ended up burning up there because it was the tail end. But I had a great time. And I probably missed 45 days of the peak, you know, comfortable weather. Warm, but still not, you know, got the nice evenings. So, I mean, when I say I'm going to follow the front end, there's no telling where I'll go now. I might just be, you know, all the way out west, and I might just go to the Smokies. I don't know yet, but I'm very excited about it. I might come home and go off again real quick. I don't know. But I'm really excited about it. And then, you know, the weight and the diet and my energy, and I have a nice rig. And now let's talk about some of the, not negative, but some of the concerning things that we have going on in our country. We all know the wag the dog trick and talk about this and talk about that, so that we don't pay attention to them raping us and stealing and fraud and all the stuff that the government does. Politicians, liars, media, and a lot of YouTube channels are, you look up devil or liar or hate or evil, and there's their picture. I mean, it's so blatantly obvious to me now. And it is, I think, more and more people than there ever has been in our country that realize BS when they hear it and call BS where it is. And a lot of people are just still watching, still listening a little bit, but they know it's BS. So one of the things that isn't BS is that, you know, some of the people on YouTube that I've been following, that have been saying things for years that I wasn't sure if they were just looking for views or if they knew what they were talking about. You know, let's talk about the housing market for a minute. This is what I'm getting at. Cost of living, inflation, housing market, interest rates, car prices, RV prices, loaf of bread price, okay? It's going to get worse. It's going to get higher. It's never going to come down 29% on houses like it did in '08 or whenever it was when the crash happened. Houses are actually up year over year. Some people say that housing is down, and it is 4 to 5%, 3 to 4%. It is, it's down, but from extremely high prices. So it's not, and some areas have gone up 1 or 2%, and they're predicting, while not another, doubling in price like we saw the last 5 years, we're seeing prices either flat or go up 1, 2, or 3%. We're seeing interest rates that are going to be cut. They aren't even worth mentioning. It's just crap. Isn't going to help anybody. Houses are 450,000. 35% of the United States has housing prices going down. But 65% of the country has houses holding or actually going up. The states that are having an extra inventory are like the top 10, I think they mentioned, were California, New Mexico, Arizona, Colorado, Washington State, Virginia, North Carolina, and there's the lion's share of them. There's 10 of them. But everywhere else is seeing houses holding at 450,000. If they cut interest rates even 2%, the mortgage, is like 6 or 7%. The Federal Reserve is only what, 4.75? But when you go get a loan on a car or a house, it's more than that. So when they say they're going to cut it from 4 or whatever it is now, from what it was like at 1, 2, you're still going to pay more. So if they cut that interest rate a point and a half, it isn't going to help anybody that's still, it's unaffordable to buy a house. The average price is $440,000. The income is still the same. The cars, let's talk about that. I'll give you a quick thing. Cars, used cars were up average $28,000. Average! Most of them are a lot more, with 73,000 miles on them during when there was a shortage and they were getting big bucks for the new cars. They're down to 25. But now they're going up again, and because of the interest rates, there is no incentives at all on used cars. There's a lot of incentives that have been put on new cars again because inventories like Toyota, Honda, and Lexus, they have about 73 days of inventory. Buick, Land Rover, and all these cars that nobody wants, that shouldn't buy it anyway, they're junks. They got like 150 day inventory. And so they're offering incentives, with interest rates and rebates or whatever they got. But now the $7,500 incentive that you could get if you bought an EV, and they went up worldwide. People are buying those junks. Don't kid yourself. They're up more now than they were last year by ever so much. So we all know how many of them soared up last year. I think it was the best year they ever had. And that's in every country. So the $7,500 is through September 30th. And all you have to do is have something on paper that you bought one. You don't have to take physical delivery. The new Big Beautiful Deal bill that was passed, you get some kind of low interest rate or some kind of an incentive on any car, not just an EV, if it's assembled in the U.S. So the engines can be made in China, Japan, Canada, Mexico, wherever, but like a Honda Accord like I had, if it's assembled in Marysville, Ohio, it would qualify. And all you have to do is look at the factory sticker where it says final assembly. And those are going to be offering you something. And otherwise, other ones are going to have tariffs. And on the engine and transmission and the major components that are still going to be assembled and manufactured in other countries, there'll be tariffs on those. And so it's a, and it's more than I'm even probably explaining correctly, but that's kind of close. Here's the bottom line. What we're seeing, these are the good old days. Because you remember back in 2017, and we were complaining about the price of things, or, you know, what things were going up and houses started going up. Those were the good old days, remember? So we made videos here talking about how it was in the 70s and the 80s, and then there was, you know, the gas crunch and all these things that we've encountered that have continued to be a hiccup in the economy of the United States over the last few decades. We folks are like a kid that got a credit card that has no responsibility. Our government has spent trillions of dollars more than we take in. And you got nobody wanting to work. You got no money coming in on taxes. You got everybody cheating and lying. You got everybody spending and lining their own pockets. You got manufacturers. They haven't even built a company yet on the ground. They haven't even took a shovel and broke ground on all these companies that were supposed to come back here to America and get the tool and die done and build the machines and the robotic assembly or whatever, and then put the people in there to work. And what are they going to work for? $3 a day? This thing is just getting going, folks. So that's a little bit of the negative. The positive, if you got an RV, if you've got a car, paid for or not, if you've got a home, paid for or not, and you got in before, or hell, even if you got in last year, according to what I'm looking at in the future, there is not going to be any big bottom fallout on this RV. Not when they're going to be getting more of them and they can't build them. There isn't going to be any bottom falling out on used cars unless it's got a bad problem, a recall, or it's one of those ones nobody wants and it's got 1,000,000 miles on it. There's not going to be a fallout on your house. I don't care if you live in a shanty or a beautiful ocean view home. Assets that were depreciating assets are holding better than they ever have. The fact that you got firearms, a car, ammunition, you got a home, you got an RV, you got fishing rods, you got anything, you got a good ride lawnmower, it works perfectly, you got a zero turn. All of these things, you know, are assets that you have to consider one thing before you go and sell and become a minimalist. To only get rid of the things that you got to think of. What is replacement value? Like, I don't miss my Honda Accord. I do, but I don't, because I have to have this truck and I'm very happy with it now. When you sell, like when I was going to sell that car, if I would have took, you know, under 30,000, like some of the dealers were offering me 6 months ago, when I wanted to sell it almost right after buying it. You have to think of, like, if you wanted to go out and buy another car, either the same car or another Japanese car, or any car, what would you have to pay to get another one? So you have to think about replacement value. If you sell your refrigerator and you sell it for 50 or 100 bucks, like we used to pick them up dime a dozen, and it's going to go cost you $2,000 for another one, and that one still is keeping food cold, you better think. Because as you let go of things and you end up saying, yeah, I don't have anything, I'm a minimalist, I don't have any debt, I got nothing, I got no anchors, no dead weight pulling me down. But if you need something, or your life changes to where you have to get something, and you're looking at these people, you know, that's got a line, you got to get in line to get it, and you come in there and you're like, hey, I'm here to buy, let's negotiate. They're like, move on, loser. We got 100 people here ready to throw the money at us. And that's what's been going on. That's what was really going on a couple of years ago. Things kind of went down a little bit. If you look at the graph, though, it's done this. While there's been a couple of hiccups, it goes right back up. And if you look at the long line, watch my finger, it's gone through the top of the screen. Even with some jags, it's gone up, like the stock market. People that sold, like me, back in '08 and panicked. I had, I don't know, 20, 30 grand in the stock market of my own money. And I used to get these papers they send to me every quarter. Hey, your money on paper, if you sold today, would bring you, it was like double and 3 times as much. But then in '08, it crashed. I bailed out. I took all my money. And I was fortunate, I thought, to get all the money I had put in. I didn't lose any of my own money, but I never realized any gains. Now, what would happen if I didn't do that? Now, in a way, I kind of needed the money because of life, and I kept making, what do they call it when you take money out? It's not called a withdrawal, a distribution. No, not a distribution. Anyway, subtracted the money, took it all out. Had I left half of that money in, what do you think it would be worth today from '08? And then they talk about in the Bible how it all begins in the Middle East. And look at the unrest between Israel and Gaza and the Middle Eastern countries. It's a boiling pot. And they keep wagging the dog with all this and that and Epstein files to keep you distracted so that we don't freak out about the imminent default. So here's what this one YouTuber that I didn't know if he was really knowing what he's talking about or how, if it was clickbait or whatever. But when I look back at the last 5-6 years, it's like looking at a graph. The guy's been pretty much spot on. He says the president has the right and they could reevaluate the value of gold and turn a troy ounce from the $3,400 it is today to $15,000. So those that hold gold, of course, would benefit, just like people that had the stock market. And it went up based on whatever they're doing to grow it, printing money and the corporations putting their own money back in it and whatever. But if you're holding fiat, a cash dollar bill, and it took 4 or 5 times many of those to buy a troy ounce of gold versus what it is today, think about that and where your money is. So you finally say, man, I got a little equity in my house. I've saved some money. I got rid of a lot of debt. I've got $100 grand sitting in the bank. Cash. Tomorrow it could be worth $100. You would need a wheelbarrow of cash to buy a loaf of bread. If they were to change the gold value to that, or the stock market were to do something, not a scare tactic. It's so possible and volatile with we're not in this growth thing where we just came out of a correction and we're looking at pretty much a guarantee of just growth. No, we're like, everybody keeps predicting since 21, the stock market's going to crash. The housing's going to crash. But it hasn't. And I think what they'll do, like times past, that they allow an adjustment, they just turn on the printing press and they just start printing dollars like they did during the pandemic. And that's why the dollar is buys 68 cents worth of stuff. That's why so many people and central banks are buying tons of gold. They're getting ready. But who knows? It's all speculation, right? No one's got a crystal ball. But think about this. These are the good old days. So, what do? Well, you block it out. You don't let it worry you. If you're a believer in Christ, He's got your back. You're going to somehow make it. You're going to experience joy and happiness and peace and good times. And that's the way I feel. But just folks, remember, between 62 and 67, your life, your mind changes. I hear Tony on his Gold Wing, 80 years old, every day of the world. He gets on that yellow trike and he goes out and lives his life. He's out there fiddling around next to his RV. Between 62 and 67, a lot of people give up and they start changing, or they get some health issues. One guy wrote in my comments, my own issue, with, stuff that can happen. The eye, how long will I be able to see or out of this left eye? So, regarding me, I wasn't thinking, I'm too old now, whatever. I was just being more mature and thinking about selling everything and buying myself a villa, a condo, a tiny home, something. somewhere I could die at, another saying. Just because I'm not looking to flip it. I'm looking to hopefully if I bought something that's where I would live for the foreseeable future of my life. But of course, I'd want to make it affordable. I'd want to feel it. I want it to be nice. I'm worried about the future of the neighborhood, the taxes, the costs. I was going to evaluate everything. But after what I'm seeing, all these association of realtors, there's like a handful of people that think they have a crystal ball, are saying, forget it. Nothing's going to change even for another year through 2026. So if you can't afford something today and you're kind of waiting, continue to wait. Anything can happen, but not likely. And people that are smart about stuff like that aren't ever very far off. No one has a crystal ball, but it's just like anything else. You got people that are in the know. So now I've gone from, I'm going to end this video, selling everything to, look, man, you better count your blessings. You better wring this out for as long as you can until, some kind of miracle. President does something. Something happens with the economy. I don't know. But I know that God is definitely real and has got my back, because look at where I'm standing. Look at what I'm doing. Look at what I have. And people say, what do you got? Man, I got it made. I'm crushing it. I mean, I can't imagine renting an apartment that has a pretty good rent, which is not even in existence today. Follow me on this. You're going to hope and pray that that landlord doesn't want to sell that house, or dies, or his family takes over, or he wants to cash out, or he wants to raise the rent. Do you think that just because you find a great deal on an apartment that you're locked for the next 5 years, 10 years, 20 years and stay there as long as you want and nothing's ever going to change? You're fooling yourself. You get a good deal, you get in there, and then next year it's altogether different. They either sold the complex, he sells it, somebody comes in, he raises it. Then nothing ever goes down. They don't call you up one day and say, you would have to threaten to move or move out, and he couldn't rent it for 2 or 3 months before he would ever, or she would ever, drop the price of rent or selling. But that isn't happening. Just think about it. Apartment's $1,800 for anything today, before utilities. So it's $2,000 a month for a 1-bedroom or a 2-bedroom apartment. When you've got a line from the floor here, or from here out there to the street, willing to still pay it, versus the 3 or 4 or 5 people are like, I ain't paying that. That's crazy. I can't even afford it. They're like, well, go live in your car. Go get you an RV. Go live in a trailer. And so they do. But the people that jump in on that, they draw their money down all year long, giving it to that landlord. At the end of the year, he says, I'm raising it up. And they're like, well, I got to get out. I can't afford it. Then you've lost $24,000. Now you got no place. You're back where you were 12 months earlier, and the time's flying like that. So you got to think, that's why unless I move from this to something that's Tim's, I'm not going to sign up with somebody that I'm at their mercy of what they're going to charge or throw me out or sell it, or they die, or their kids come in and, we want this, or we want to live in it. I mean, I don't want any of that. I'm not going to be, and then I'm stuck because I'm in a new time of inflation and things even being worse. So you're like, man, you really got me. Where are you coming from? Let's get back to center. Let's come back. Let's bring this video to a close. You know what it comes down to? Not worrying, because that's aging you and going to give you a heart attack. Not being stupid and going out and buying something and signing up. That's another thing. They said the car loans were 5 years, 60 months. They have been for years because they were unaffordable. Then they started doing 6-year loans, 72 months. 7-year loans, 84 months, are now over 21% of the car purchases to make them affordable. And Either they're going to have to make houses with 50-year mortgages, or drop the price or drop the rate. And, who's going to do any of that, really? So, back to center. The center is think positive. Take the news with a grain of salt. Don't believe 9.9% of 99%, I should say, of what you're listening to. It's all lies. You get more truth from some independent person or a person that's been studying it for a while. The media is all about just getting views and selling advertising and paying their opinion hosts millions of dollars a year to get you to cry and worry and fret and to hate. That's what they want. That's their goal. They can smile at you all day long. You think, this is my people. Fox and Friends, those are my people. CNN, and whatever their names are over there. MSNBC. Oh, Joe and Mika. Those people are, man, I love to hate with them. Oh, I can't stand that orange man. You are in an echo chamber. They are using you, each one, no more or less than the other. They're only in it for their own self-preservation. The people they interview, these politicians, they're not saying anything to care about you, or we wouldn't be in this mess that we're in. Like I said the other day, Israel and solving the Middle East issue, if there was peace between the Palestinian people and Jews, they would have discovered it decades ago. It's never going to happen. It says in the Bible. So what do? You got less runway in front of you than you got behind you. You got kids, you got grandchildren just getting started, just started school. Where is their future going to be? I can tell you what, I don't admire it. When I look back at my growing up in the 70s and being a young adult in the 80s, man, those were good times. Those were the good old days. So now, folks, just remember that if you're doing good and you're making smart decisions and you have your assets, you got your little bit of money, don't be stupid. Don't go out and sign up. Don't go out and redo this and do that. Don't have FOMO, fear of missing out. Sow your feet to the ground. Sow your mind on positivity. Read your Bible. Pray to God for His guidance and direction. And with all those losers out there following the dream and believing the lies, let them fall off the cliff. It says it's going to be easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than for a man to enter heaven. So you're going to have to work for this. You're going to have to focus on Him, yourself, your family, your wallet. You're going to have to make the right decisions. And it's not a scare tactic. It's just, look, you're getting sent down the river by everybody and everything. Everything is a con on TV. Everything. It's just a big con. But you know truth when you hear it. The truth will set you free. So use your mind, pray to God, and start crushing it.